everyone, it's Hannah from Jerry's Artarama, Nashville. I am here to do a night sky scene that you guys can follow along and do it at home with me. It's pretty simple. I just did a time-lapse version, but I want to slow things down for you guys and explain what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So all you'll need today is a few brushes, a thick brush. I have a couple of thinner brushes. You'll need a toothbrush, and you'll need a black acrylic paint, a white acrylic paint, and then I just pick a warm and a cool color. It'll work out. This LUMI Rose is one of my favorite colors by Turner Acryl Gouache. It mixes great with blues and yellows to make neon oranges and neon purples, so I'm going to show the versatility of this product. I've got night blue here because it's just one of my favorite blues. Really brightens up with white, and you'll see how pretty it comes out with this LUMI Rose. So I'm going to start out by, this is just a piece of acrylic. I'm going to put a little bit of paint on the side here. Being a framer at Jerry's Artarama, I have quite a few pieces of this acrylic that is usually in the frames that I use. I usually upgrade to glass. So just any glass, plexi, anything like this is going to be good to mix on. Need a little bit of white. And honestly, the majority of the top half of this painting is going to be black. So you can actually directly apply your black acrylic paint to the canvas. Just on the top half, do about 5 little dots. Got a glass of water here. I'm wetting my brush. Having a little bit of moisture in the brush is always good when you're painting. I never go dry into any paint. This is just going to allow the fluidity of the pigment to actually go across your surface. So right here, we're just kind of filling in your top. That's going to be the main part of your night sky. My time-lapse video, I actually did the painting starting out with a completely black background. It's really up to you. I'm trying to save some of my black, so I'm just going to do the top half. You guys just clean your brush really good. We're going to go into another color. Here we can actually just take some of the blue. That's going to be kind of like an ombre effect. Just kind of mix in, make it a little bit of a lighter layer. The cool thing about this is that you really don't need to be exact with your blending. Because what we're kind of trying to replicate in this painting is the aurora borealis. So it's just kind of light that's coming vertically from the horizon. So I'm cleaning my brush really good again. I got my basic kind of blend going there. Now I usually take the same color. The pink's going to be highlights, so I'll take the same color, add a little bit of white to it, and then just go again with your vertical strokes. Can really brighten it up. We want the bottom of your canvas to be bright, just because we are going to do some really cool silhouettes of trees, and we want the trees to be really visible with a lighter background because we're going to be doing those in black. So the more organic and loose you are with your brush strokes, the more it's going to read as your night sky and the aurora borealis. So don't overthink your brush strokes too much. Kind of just go vertically with your different colors. You can bring up the light just a little bit. You can also do these in layers where you're not dragging the black down. I'm really impatient, so... And I think it's kind of a nice effect to have a little bit of grays. It's looks more realistic. All right, so once your entire canvas is full and you're kind of happy with the lines that you've made, you can go ahead and take your accent color, your warm, and I wouldn't go straight into it with that color. Look how pretty, just this night blue and this white with this LUMI pink is gorgeous. So just dragging some of that in there. See how it kind of turns to a little bit of a darker with the black. That's what I really like. And if you just pull some with that black, pull some of that pink without cleaning your brush, and that can really stand out and be really cool. Probably want a little bit more white. We just have to remember that the white is really what's going to make the tree stand out. You can clean your brush again, pull some of that pink or whatever bright color you have. You can even bring that down. Just really brighten up your foreground. Like I said, the more organic and loose you are with it, don't overwork it. If you overwork it too much, it's gonna come out, it's gonna read as muddy. So I'm pretty much getting to the point where I'm gonna stop. At the end, you can really bring in some of that white. A little bit more of those texture lines. All right, cool. So this is the first part. Like I said, I'm impatient, so I have a hair dryer on standby, so I'm going to hit that with the hair dryer really quick. It doesn't need to be completely dry. This next step, we're actually going to add the night sky, the stars. So the only reason I dried it so the surface is mostly dry is so the droplets of the stars that fall down aren't going to blend into what I've just painted. So this is where your toothbrush comes in. This is a technique that I've turned to several times since I've been an artist. It's a great technique, not only for stars, but for texturizing things and just adding a cool flair that a brush really doesn't offer. So I just made a consistency, like a milkshake consistency over here. I just pulled some of the water from the brush, and yeah, once it gets to a milkshake kind of consistency, then you can actually go dry brush in this time around and just kind of make sure all your bristles really get in there. Make sure it's soaking up the most of the moisture, because that's where we're going to get our splatter from. All right, and once we have that, it's not too intense. There's not paint that is gopped up on it. So now you just take your thumb, and depending on the closeness you are to your surface, the bigger the dots. It will be bigger the closer you are, and then farther away, you're gonna get those little bitty spots right there. Also, if you want something bigger, you can wet a smaller brush. I've got this small shader. Go ahead and put it in your milkshake consistency as well. And this, you just take it and tap it from the top. It's gonna give you a little bit of a different texture, a little bit of a heavier line. But you don't really have to overwork it. Once we add the trees in, it's gonna really come together. Okay, so I'm gonna hit this with the dryer one more time. Doesn't need to be perfectly dry, but might as well, since we're going to do another layer. Alright, and this is when your black comes in. So take your black, this is jet black. This is the darkest black that I've ever worked with, and I love it so much. I've got a bigger tube here that I use all the time. So just go ahead and put that on the side. You don't need very much of it. And my skyline is a little bit higher than the one I did in my time-lapse video. So I think I might add a little bit of a foreground. Just take one of your thinner brushes, clean it out really good, have a little bit of moisture in it. You can actually just go to the very bottom of your surface and just do a rolling hill. Just something that's solid. It's going to separate that background and make it more believable. The surface I was working on prior to this was a 6x6. I believe this is an 8x8, so it's a little bit larger. Once you've got that down, then you can go in with a small detail brush and make as many trees as you want. I always do an evergreen tree. It's just simple and really believable. This is kind of a tall landscape, so we can go a little bit bigger than usual. I always start with a thick base that goes to a very thin top. And you can kind of do that. Just go ahead and make the bases of your trees before you add the leaves and branches. You can do one that's thick and kind of stocky. Some that are kind of a little bit in the distance. And then I always start at the top of each of these, and I would always leave at least, you know, depending on the proportion, at least a 1/10 of it where it's just vertical, and then start here. And you can kind of go down in a zigzag pattern. Don't do it as if all of the leaves are going to be the same length. You can kind of just be kind of organic with it. This one's pretty in the foreground. So yeah, even if it's just kind of messy like that, that always looks cool. The more loose and less exact you are, the more fun it will be for you. And it's also not gonna look super planned. So again, just like a zigzag kind of motion. That guy's a little stockier. Alright. You can put as many trees as you want. They're gonna be nice and bright on the background that you chose. Whenever you have something prominent that you can recognize with a organic, loose background, it always works in a really cool way. So if you clean your brush off really good, I've got this white still available here, and I like to add a moon. I'm just gonna do a full moon. And we don't need a lot of liquid on this. We would much rather have more white paint than water involved in this process. And you just kind of make a circle motion. Your moon can be as big as it wants to be. Mine's pretty big. And once we add a moon in the sky, then that calls for lighting on the trees. Might have looked like snow. I mean, it can be snow or light, whatever you think. And again, get your brush really dry. This needs to be more paint than water. Go over to your white. Make sure it's not runny. And this can be even looser than the first time around. So you're just kind of kissing the top. And we don't want it to blend in, so you might want to dry your painting before you do this. See, it's kind of doing it there. But again, you don't need to go crazy with it. And just do that continuously throughout your trees. See, if you have too much water, then it's gonna start blending and running on you. So I haven't cleaned my brush enough. This is more of a snow layer than it is a light layer. And if you think it's snow, then you can go ahead and just kind of add a layer that's catching the light on the bottom. And you can always use some final touches. I like to make sure my moon's a good round shape. And I'll also put a few shooting stars in there, super light. And there is your night sky. Fun and easy. And kind of easy to do. But it's a fun project that I think everybody would enjoy. Doesn't need to be the type of acrylic that I used, but I highly recommend it. I highly recommend the brushes I used. Ebony Splendor, short handled. Great brand, great brush, great bristle. And this happens to be a Practica canvas, which is a student grade canvas. Comes in several sizes and super easy to work with. All right, I hope you really enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comment, and I would be happy to talk to you guys. All right, thank you. Bye.